So my next guest is who I would hope I would be if I had my shit together. I've been following Brian Clark for about a year because, of course, with me and mastering midlife and the focus in my work and my writing, Brian has been doing this for a while and is doing it really well. He's a writer, he's a traveler, a serial entrepreneur. He's the founder of a pioneering content marketing website before content marketing was cool, called Copy Blogger. It's the personal growth newsletter of Further and Unemployable, which is where I found him. And those are resources that provide smart strategies for freelancers and entrepreneurs. And Further is for us, the midlifers. Brian started 10 businesses in the last 20 years and has the ridiculous track record of each one having higher revenue than profits and happiness than before. He's been recognized as a pioneer in the $44 billion content marketing industry. And I'll put a link for an in-depth article on Brian from Forbes so you can do some more research. What I love about Further is that, the tagline, start living your best midlife, best at midlife, which is what I think it's an opportunity. It's a weekly email with the best handpicked wealth and wellness and resources for people in their 40s and 50s. And this is what I really like. He separates it out into the art of midlife reinvention, which is health, wealth, and personal growth. So how do we find that in this time? So Brian, I really appreciate you listening to this long introduction and you being on the show.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I say it tongue in cheek that you're who I would be if I got my shit together. But this is you took what you've been doing for a really long time and focused it into this area of midlife and helping people in this new era of being.
Yeah, actually, Further started out as a personal project, which is essentially in the study of personality psychology. We do things that may seem kind of out of character for us, or we do them just to do them because we feel like we need to transition, something needs to change. And I now know from starting Further that the age that I started Further, this is interesting. I don't know if you've ever seen the stat that your peak unhappiness in your 40s is at the very specific number of 47.2. And I kind of made fun of that. I'm like, that's just too specific. Okay. But in general, your 40s are rough, even if you're succeeding and everything's kind of fine, thanks to what's called the U-shaped happiness curve, right? Like, you start out pretty happy when you're young. And then, as you enter your 40s, you kind of bottom out. And then when you get to 50, which I found almost to the date, you start to feel better and things really do get better. So it's not like you have a midlife crisis necessarily. It's just like you're kind of bummed out. And it's because it's a transitional period. So I started Further as a personal project, not a business. And I just did the math yesterday because I started thinking about it. I turned 47 in September, and 3 months later, I started Further, 47.2.
This is uncanny because I was going to say, where are you getting your information? So when I was 47, I was depressed and suicidal. My career was in the toilet. My health was a mess. And that's when I decided to run the Marine Corps Marathon and change my life. Right. So 47 was the year. That's crazy.
Yeah, isn't it weird? I mean, we could say it's a coincidence, but I'll send you the link after we get off this so you can post it in the show notes. But they're very specific in measuring that's kind of peak crap for midlife people or 40 somethings. But you're so close to it getting better. And if you feel like you got to do something that's out of character to kind of deal with how you're feeling, do it. Because I think we just gave two examples of doing things that actually helped either, running a marathon. It's so common for 40 and 50 somethings to turn to extreme sports because they're looking for something to do that's challenging and gratifying. Your career, you may be succeeding, but what motivated you in the beginning, such as money and status and obligation to raise a family, you kind of did that and it doesn't mean as much anymore. And that again is normal, but it doesn't feel normal. It's like, what is wrong with me that I don't feel good?
Yeah. I coach so many people who have it all and wonder why they're unhappy. the tagline for us is, what got you motivated in your 20s and 30s starts to wane and often turns on you in your 40s and 50s. It just doesn't work. Now the midlife crisis comes in when you fight it, when you hold on to the past, when you can't ride this wave. Then you do something that really does. The only thing you can think of is to explode rather than evolve and find something new.
That's interesting. I hadn't quite thought about it that way, but yeah, the resistance is what causes the crisis. Next thing you've got a Corvette and, a new wife, and you're still not happy.
Right. But you knew you had to do something. And usually when I'm talking to people, they'll say, I hate my job. They put on these demands and all that stuff. I have to quit. I said, okay, well, have you talked to your superiors about the work conditions? If they change this, and this, would you stay? They're like, no, I have to quit. So they either acquiesce or they blow things up instead of doing the hard things. And that's the same thing in the marriage. Have you had a conversation with your wife about this and that and this, and really done the hard work, the 3 years of hard work that will make your marriage something exquisite in your later life? Instead, it's, let's blow it up and turn it in because the hard work is too hard.
Yeah, it's a tough one because, if you look at survey information about Gen Xers and work, we're not happy generally about it. Not because of this stuff, just because we feel like we're overlooked. It went straight from the boomers to the millennials, and we ignored Generation X. What a common theme. But yeah, so I can see the reaction of, changing jobs or quitting this job will fix things. It probably won't. But then again, I do have a site called Unemployable because I haven't had a job in 20 something years. I don't know how anyone has a job. It's hard for me to fathom, but I really work hard to understand how people are feeling about that. And I do know that simply switching jobs isn't necessarily going to make anything better because you're not really diving into the root cause of what's happening here.
So how have you, so you're turning 47. What are you turning to for the introspection in your life so you know what the next chapters look like?
Man, I am just the epitome of, at that age, I had launched 3 7-figure businesses in 3 years, and then made some maneuvers and started building the business that went to 8 figures. So, more than I'd never really aspired to build a business that big. The most important things to me when I start things is purpose, creativity, and all of my businesses are bootstrapped. So that 8-figure business had no investors. We built it all from scratch. So here I am, just supposedly riding high in the business aspect of my life. It was definitely an unqualified success, and yet I wasn't happy. I didn't understand. I said, okay, you're not happy because you've been ignoring the rest of what matters. Your health is not great. Your relationships could be better, right? I was always one of these guys who just kind of laughed at personal growth. I'm like, I don't need that. I mean, I help other people. I don't need any help. You get that macho attitude, right? But then I had that realization. I'm like, dude, you've got to start have a more well-rounded life. And so that's why I started further to really explore my own health and wellness and what can I do to do better? What can I do to grow in ways that aren't related to business? And I just started sharing what I was reading with people, and people came along for the ride. And then it was really after we sold the business and I went on sabbatical with my family, we traveled around the world, that I realized that further was what I wanted to do next, because these were the people I wanted to help. These were people in the same place I was, maybe a few years ago, or maybe a few years ahead of me. But now we got to look forward to, with the advances in longevity, and if we take care of ourselves, we may have 50 more years left, right? What are we going to do with the rest of our lives? That's an important question. And that's where the concept of further shifted from doing the next thing to doing the next thing that truly matters. And the research also reveals that it's about this time, once we get through that period of something's wrong, that we do things with more purpose, and we're looking for more meaning. So it's not necessarily about the money. It's not about the status or what other people think. Now, don't get me wrong. Some people are perpetual adolescents. They never grow, right? So I'm really looking for, and I think you're looking for, the people who feel something is not quite right and realize that's a moment to move forward to your best life, not keep looking to the past, to what never made you happy in the first place.
Agreed. But I would say the first thing is that's the inclination to start going inward, to start really contemplating, who am I? Who do I want to be? Who was I? Did it serve me? What in the things in my life, are they the things I want in my life? And then what do I do with that? So let's make it more personal. What did you learn about health? What did once you woke up and said, okay, I've done all this, but I neglected this machine here. What'd you learn?
I just really, once you focus on something, at least for me, you're more likely to do something about it. It's really easy to go to work too hard, sleep too little, eat poorly, drink too much, in the name of, well, at least I'm pushing the ball forward in the business. Um, so that really sparked my first attempt at getting healthy. And I did pretty well for about a year. This is a common story, right? And then you kind of backslide to old habits when things get busy, which honestly that's the thing that kills me. Every time I get stressed out and overworked, the the thing I need to do is to take care of myself, right? To get through it, but I generally didn't. So then, in once again, after the business was acquired, I started again. Actually, before the business was acquired, I started. It was the end of 2017. I bought an Apple Watch, which was a bigger deal than it may sound like. Like, I had tried the Fitbit and all this, but I bought an Apple Watch because it allowed me to leave my phone behind, which was a constant source of distraction and anxiety. And then I just started hiking, and I was, again, not in the best of shape, but just took incremental, took it slow, building new habits. And then a year later, I was a different person. And a year later after that, I was back in the best shape I'd been since college. I
So
mean,
what do you
literally.
attribute the stick to itiveness to it now that it's stuck?
I started to feel better working out than I felt doing the stuff that wasn't good for me. And that is important. I mean, I call it the good drugs. I mean, when you work out, and the endorphins and serotonin and dopamine, it's just, you have to get addicted to that. But also tracking progress, again, not overdoing it. So I didn't, just try to run a marathon right away, and while strength training at the same time, I just worked up to it. And each time I got to a higher level of fitness, then I added something else. Like, it was a full year before I started weight training, because I never stuck with it my whole life, because I didn't care about being some big muscle guy. But I reframed the whole issue and said, what you need to be is strong. As you get older, the stronger you are, the healthier you are, the more protected you are from taking a fall, or, just falling down on the hiking trail, or what have you, the better shape you're in. So I just thought in very pragmatic terms.
That's the
Brian,
that's the difference in being alive until you're 100 or living until you're 100.
absolutely. I have no interest in living, just surviving a long time. It's health span versus lifespan. If I can live to be X amount of years and have great health, and be happy and still intellectually capable, hey, sign me up. I'm all there. But I don't think, I'm not one of these people that would live at all cost. I mean, I
Mm.
so admire people who struggle, with chronic pain, or just disabilities that come about through the course of life, because I'm sitting here going, that's it. I'm done. I'm out of here. um, because it really is, it's a cliche that if you don't have health, you don't have anything in it, but it's so true. So that was my thing. It wasn't about how thin I was or how I looked. It was like, let's train so that you feel good
Yeah.
for and can do stuff, you know? I mean, I feel like, I've got a couple years till my kids are both out of high school. And my plan is to go back to traveling constantly. That's what I want to do. I built this the way I do business is designed to be done from anywhere. 20 years before COVID made, remote work the new thing. And that if there's anything good that comes out of this pandemic, it's that people are going to be able to be a little more free to work from wherever they are.
Cool. Just had a little mishap with the with my hold on. Forgive me. I had some reason my audio changed
Oh, okay.
on its own. It changed to my AirPods, and my AirPods aren't even like they're closed away. So
Oh, I was worried that we lost the connection.
no, I can edit this. This is my producer will edit this. But
Okay.
so back. So let me move to the next thing. So what did you learn about relationship over this time? What shifted in your relationships?
Just, so I've always been, I wasn't someone who worked in an office. So my entire kids' lives, I was always around, but I wasn't present. And that was the big change that I had to do. And, I would easily get frustrated when, there were interruptions or whatnot. Just try to be more understanding of that situation.
So how would someone looking in know that you shifted from kind of being work mode to being present with your family?
They can tell. And I used to think not, but my wife could always tell. She's like, "You're always thinking about something else." And I'm like, "Yeah." And on one hand, she's okay with it because she knows that I'm dedicated to, supporting the family and earning for them and all that good stuff. But at the same time, if you're a dad and husband, you're supposed to be there, not just pay the bills. And I know, dating back that the role of the male of the family was that kind of strong, silent type who just paid the bills and everyone had to leave him alone when he got home. But I didn't want to be that. So mindfulness, I guess, is the secret here. Just really paying attention to where you are in the moment. It doesn't have to be some necessarily spiritual thing or even a meditative thing. It's just bringing your awareness back to the people and the situation you're actually in. And if you need to work, then you work. A lot of my work is just thinking. It's probably the same for you, right? So it doesn't look like it sometimes, but I just learned to say, okay, don't do your work when you're at the dinner table.
Right.
Be there for them.
Don't do your thinking when you're at the dinner table, supposedly listening to someone else's day. Uh,
Right.
so what's the reward of all that? So why do that? What do you get out of that? We only do what we get a payoff for. So what do you get when you're
Every
present with your family?
My life is 180 degrees better. It just went in a different direction. I still have, after exiting the last business, I've got two new startups and they're succeeding. And so I realized to a certain degree, you can have it all. You have to work at it though, right? It just doesn't happen. And I think because one part of my life was just kind of natural and I won't say easy, but because I love what I do for work, it felt easy to me as long as I put in the effort. Um, but putting in the effort into health and other aspects, growing as a person, it was hard at first. You have to, again, like you said, you got to want the benefits, and yet you can't focus on the benefits. You have to adopt the process,
That is
right?
the
We
that is
all
the
have heard
paradox.
this a million times. Hardest thing in the world to do. So you have to want to change your identity. And I've written about this further before. James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits, has written about this as well, where, the benefits of a new behavior are one thing. The process is how you get the benefits, but how you adopt the process is a change in identity. Who do you want to be, as opposed to, I want to weigh this, or, I'm the
Mhm.
type of person who works out is a way to get it done, more than I want to fit in these jeans.
I want to go back to a relationship though. I'm gonna kind of force your nose into it. I want you to advertise. I want you to sell it. Like, why be present for your family? What is the benefit of taking your eye off, off of being maniacally focused on building businesses and all that? Yes, your health, so you can live longer and be here and not be miserable. But now being there with your family, what are you getting back from your wife, from your children, from the people in your life that you didn't have, that you didn't notice before?
Well, I mean, you talk about those other things. I mean, you can have all the money in the world and you can even be healthy and live a long time, but you're going to be unhappy because generally, relationships are the thing that keep you going and give you true contentment and happiness. And I'm an introvert. I don't need a lot of people, almost to a fault, but I do need my family, and it can't be a one-way street. They have to be receiving from me, emotionally and otherwise, for it to come back to me in the same way. So that to me was easy, in that, no, I don't need a huge social circle. In fact, I don't care about that stuff much at all. Anyone who knows.
COVID has been, again, I'm an introvert too.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
I
No.
miss nothing.
I I cracked a joke on Twitter that I don't even know if some people thought was a joke, but I just said the pandemic has proven that extroversion is a weakness. And all the introverts were like, yes.
I saw that tweet. I felt vindicated.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, I know my audience. There's a lot of introverts and that follow me. So it was pretty safe joke.
Very cool. So cool. So tell me more about what's on the horizon for you. What, besides your businesses, where are you going to put your efforts outside of business? Where are you going to put your efforts into making sure that the next decade is fulfilling and interesting?
Yeah. So again, of course, we're right at that point where we're getting college and whatnot sorted out. My son's still, he's only a sophomore, but we'll be working on that, getting them and continuing them on the path, um, that really, and I'm not one of these, you got to go do this and you got to go to this school kind of person. But when my son says, I'm not going to college, I'll just say, yes, you are. And, but ultimately, if he decides he doesn't want to, we'll have to have that conversation. And then I say, okay, what are you going to do? And then we'll go from there. But so that, you've still got a good 6 years of that. But like I said, I expect in 3 years that my wife and I will be traipsing around. Um, we'd love for the kids to come with us if they want to, but they both have the, boyfriend and girlfriend, and you know how it is.
I have
So
one kid in I have one kid in Israel and one kid in Dallas. So I am a complete empty nester.
yeah. So I suspect that one day they will be living with me somewhere again, but for the near future, it's like getting them on the right path, and then taking off. And I mean, I don't think I've ever been happier than the 7 months where we traveled around the world. We were 3 months in France, stopped off in Japan, 3 months in Australia, New Zealand, um, and then headed back in. And I'm like, this is it. This is the way I want to live. Uh, I think we'll probably find places where we want to settle, maybe for longer periods of time. But the whole concept, you're familiar with the term aging in place, right? So, and
Sure.
that just means not going to a nursing home or a retirement community, both of which would be death for me. But even that, what excites me is seeing more of what I haven't yet experienced in this world while I still have time left. And I am just so thrilled about that. And I mean, travel itself is personal growth. You're in strange situations. You almost are completely out of your comfort zone. And yet to me, I feel like that is my comfort zone because I feel like I'll be growing, learning, experiencing all the time, and yet still doing what matters to me as far as work goes. Probably having a better relationship with my wife now that we get some time together again. And, and then still, of course, maintaining my relationship with my kids who probably mean the world to me, beyond traveling the world, of course.
No, I got that. It's interesting. You talked about James Clear and the whole habits thing, and I saw a tweet that you did earlier about it's good to have routine, but having too much routine and not putting yourself in situations where you're going to learn and grow. So me, pushing 60, I'm still like I'm writing books. I'm doing things I've never done before, getting on stages. I'm starting a whole new phase of my life, at this age. So I'm always on the edge of my sword, which I think keeps me younger. Rather than making my world smaller. Travel is what, as you said, it just forces
Yeah.
us to keep moving.
That tweet, was to an article that basically runs through the science on this. That we thrive and crave novelty, right? And that keeps the neuroplasticity of your brain going, makes you happier just as a baseline, all of this stuff. And yet the paradox is as we get older, by the way, you look great for 60. I would have guessed younger.
58 and a half. We're doing just kind of giving context here.
Yeah, right. Um, but as we get older, a lot of people settle into routine and they don't want new experiences. I mean, I've seen this in my own mom. My dad is they got an RV, he's trying to get her out of the house. She loves her house. That's her castle, her yard, and her routine. Um, and I'm not like that. It doesn't, I'm seeking new challenges. I'm learning Spanish at the moment. I've been trying for 30 years,
It's
but
so much harder to learn a language now. Guitar and
it's so
learning is
hard to
so
do
hard.
anything now, but it's so good for you, right? You just have to have the desire. And it's just like, trying to get healthy when you're overweight and all that. It's hard at the beginning, but if you got the desire, it is so good for you. And travel is up there with that for me. So, learning a new language helps me travel and be communicative in different countries. So it all kind of has a plan together. The businesses I run can be run from anywhere, and my adventures can play into how those businesses work. So
You
I try.
set that up beautifully.
Well, I try to integrate things because it keeps. If you're doing a bunch of different stuff and they're completely unrelated, it gets overwhelming. But if you find ways to integrate all the things you want to do, like I guess that's what an integrated life would be called, right? You just seek that coherence, even though you've got all these different things you want to do. It keeps you sane. And also it makes you or keeps you sharp mentally. And then if you're taking care of yourself physically, and of course, the best thing for your brain, ironically, exercise, right? But besides continuing to learn. So yeah, it's all of this stuff we're told we're supposed to do because it's good for us might make us push back. But man, it's better for you than you think. So
Pizza's better than a salad, but salad will carry you way further. So if you don't mind, can I keep you just for one more? I want more go one more subject. Since we're talking about this, it's just before the November 3rd election, with COVID-19 and the financial distress that people are going through. People are losing jobs. This is accelerating not only technology, but it's accelerating people into midlife, into what's next before they were ready. People are losing their jobs. They're trying to figure out how to transition. So, a lot of what you bring into the world is to help people to figure out what the next chapters are, how to figure that out. What are you seeing now? What are you offering on your websites and in your businesses to help people cope with whatever is going to come next? Because we have no idea what happens after November 3rd.
yeah, so even before this crazy year, wow, 2020. I mean, if it gets worse from here, I guess we'll forget about 2020. Otherwise, this one's going to stand out. But even before the pandemic, I was just gently urging people, if you have a job and you're at this age, your odds of getting laid off go way up and your odds of getting another job go way down. And it is ageism. Let's call it what it is. I mean, I would think Gen X should be, people our age, young boomers and Gen Xers should be the people you want to go to, because we're the most resilient, resourceful people, at least currently in the job market. And we've got the experience and all that. But you know how managers and executives think, it's always, let's get the young kid in there. They're
I was a sales
cheaper.
guy in
And
the high tech industry. Like I don't think anybody's taken me back.
yeah, yeah. So I keep urging people, you can start your own thing on your own terms and actually have more security than if you keep that job, even if you never go beyond freelancer or consultant or whatever. But I call it the personal enterprise approach. And this is my thing, where you start off in an area where you have expertise, and then you continue to make investments. And I don't necessarily mean money, but it gets to that point even further down the road. But everything you do should be viewed as an investment. Your time is an investment, and it should be driven by purposeful projects. So they call freelancing and consulting the portfolio career. And a lot of people are saying that people at 40s and early 50s are going to move more towards this because they're already unhappy at work. They understand that security is an illusion. If they can figure out how to get health insurance, right, then they're more likely to probably make that leap. And I'm saying that's just the beginning, because if you make yourself known for something like you're doing through this podcast, opportunities come, right? And then you pick and choose, and all of a sudden you've got something that looks more like a conglomerate than a job. And that's what I mean by personal enterprise. And it's not only incredibly fulfilling, but it's a way to protect your income. It's also a way to make way more money than you used to, if that's what you're into. I mean, like I said, money may not be the primary driver, but you still have to make it. So that's what I realized, that even though further talks about health and wellness and, my journey and others, it talks about relationships and personal growth, the number one problem faced by people in their 40s and 50s right now, their anxiety comes from economic issues. We're the sandwich generation. We've got aging parents and we got kids still. We're taking care of everyone. We've gone from 9/11 to 2008 to COVID. It hasn't been easy, right? But if anyone can handle it, we can. And I just encourage people to take control of your destiny. Don't let AI or automation or your asshole boss do it for you.
Oh, so well said. I appreciate that. Where do you want people to find you?
Well, I think most appropriately, I guess, would be Further, which is further.net. It's a weekly email, just designed to bring you as much useful, accurate information that is of high quality. And then we also, Trudy and I write original pieces as well based on what we've learned. Unemployable.com is mainly focused on freelancers, solopreneurs, and startup people. And don't forget, 45 is the average age for a successful startup founder. So, Mark Zuckerberg aside, in many ways, it's not the Hoodie Millennial. It's one of us, right? So that's all I can say about that. So, depending if on your interest level, but Further is right across the plate for this audience.
Cool. And I'll put all of that in the show notes so people can find you and follow you as I do, because it's just chock full of useful information. It's so much better than reading People magazine. You'll get
I hope so.
or doom scrolling Twitter, right? Like it's just it's so much better. I guess doom scrolling Twitter is the new People magazine. But Brian, I really appreciate you are, like I said, you're one of my heroes in this space, and I appreciate you coming on and sharing with the audience.
No, man, thank you and best wishes with everything for you and everyone out there listening.
Yes, to everybody who's listening, I don't know what the results of the election was because it's not there yet. I don't know what we're dealing with. I don't know what you're dealing with, but I know it's probably stressful. So take care of yourself, love one another, and have a great rest of the day.